While I'm waiting on parts for the F12, I thought I'd do something to the GP1 because I need to work on this thing as well. But this underbelly on it's white, and I've always hated how it looks white. So what I'm gonna do right now is take this thing off, peel that sticker off, clean it up a bit, and I'm gonna wrap it black. So I bought some black wrap here, some vinyl wrap. So it's probably gonna be hard, but I went and bought a heat gun as well. So we got a heat gun, and I'm gonna try to wrap these panels black underneath. Or this started as an easy project, turned into has to take every single thing apart because there's a bolt under the floorboard that goes into the bottom of the tray. You can't take the floorboard off unless this is undone, and then this is undone, and that's undone. So the whole GP1. So this is, I'm gonna have it apart. I'm gonna do a few things to it, and I'm gonna take the blinkers off. So strip GP1 all the way down now. So if you want to see why I had to take the whole thing apart to get the floorboard off, it's because this screw on both sides, so there's 4 total. Stripped apart, got some black wrap here. I'm gonna go at it, got the heat gun, and see if I can't figure this out. Alright, so wrap job did not work as planned with the GP1, so I went ahead and sanded down the panels, and I spray painted them, and it didn't turn out too bad actually. I'm stoked. A little bit of some bubbles here and there, but overall for some spray paint, that looks pretty damn good. So, and I also want to take my blinkers from up top up here and install them down here. While I'm in here, I took the plug off the GP1, and it's definitely running rich. You can see a little bit of some nice brown on top, but man, that thing's running pretty rich. So I think I'm gonna mess with that tuning wise, and once we get this thing back together, get a little bit more tuning in on it as well. I think I need to repaint this back panel because it's not looking too well back here. It's rough. Alright, before we start throwing the GP1 back together, I'm going to take the whole headset apart right now, fix up a few things, like this cutout that I did last second that screw swapped out just to get the gauge on there, because I wanted to ride it that night, so I just like roughly did it. I'm going to file that out and then probably put like a little black piece of rubber around that. We're going to have to pretty much pull these bars all the way apart to be able to pull these blinkers out, because they bolt somewhere underneath that plastic. So unbolt that, pull the full assembly out, then figure out the wiring to be able to run the blinkers into there. I was hoping it would be something way more simpler. Like there's a way I could do it, but I'd have to find something so the bolt's not rattling around in there. I was hoping that they just popped right in, but front blinkers, it's really not something that I care enough to go and do all this work for some front blinkers. So I'm gonna throw the dust shield back on, call that. It's less wiring to have, it's less everything up front, and I'm gonna continue with taking off this bar. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to lift this up. All right, blinkers are gone. I kind of liking the way the GP1's looking without that carbon shield on that sits right there too. It almost looks more like the F12. It's a little bit more rounded where the gauges are, kind of like the more body lines it's giving it. I don't know, how are we feeling on that? I did some wire tucking, got it cleaned up a little bit more here. So it's kind of a mess. When I put this together at Scooter Swap Shop, it was pretty much the last and final day we had to try this thing out, and I want to get it running. Literally just like plugged everything, wires in, and just threw it together. So kind of went through, a lot of these connectors aren't really used no more from the chassis compared to the motor, so I kind of just tucked them up in here in the side panel area, so they're going to be sandwiched in there once the side panel's on, and should be hidden all the way. So got that all hooked up in there, and now the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put my floorboard on, and the under panels, well the under panels first, then the floorboard, and then these side panels. I'm going to leave this back panel off for now because I want to power wash in here. Alright, how are we feeling on this? Face shield? No face shield. I can't tell. Alright, time to spray this thing off, power wash it, clean it up a bit. As you see, we're looking pretty crusty in here. Now we're going to drop this motor today as well and fix this little rubbing issue that I found. If you look at that motor mount right there, you can see sun, I could see sun going through it. Now if you look at this side, right here, You see that? It's rubbing on the frame. I think that's where all the vibrations are coming from. Because here the exhaust is clearanced. It doesn't actually rub on either side. It's not enough for it to make a vibration. But right there, I can't see any light through it. GP1's hanging. I'm unplugging everything right now. I forgot that because the way the motor mount's set up on this one, the exhaust sits in the middle, so I have to drop the exhaust in order to pull the motor mount out. The fuel in here has probably been over a year old, so the fuel needs to be drained out of here as well. Clean it up, down jet the carb if I have the right jets. So, got the GP1 pipe off, but I think we just learned something about the GP1 here. Something in this pipe. Oh my god. Boys, that is not good. We got a pipe full of fuel. Oof. Pure rusty water coming out that bad boy right now. Because this, I don't think I changed the coolant from when there was the Piaggio engine when I put this in there. I kind of just plugged it all in, like I said, to get this thing running. This is why the GP1 wasn't ridden too much, because I never went back. I knew there's a lot of things that had to be done. I'm thinking maybe the float and the angle of the carb with the constant fuel going, it was just dumping fuel into the engine as it sat. Okay, that will work for now. You can see pretty clearly where the engine was rubbing at, where that giant paint chip is right there, and it's kind of like dented in a little bit. So that's why I'm gonna grind it out. This is one of the craziest carbs I've ever seen, but this Del carb, Del Toro, Del Tac, 2 individual floats, kind of interesting. Float bowl itself is pretty interesting too, and the way these jets are set up. So I think this would be the main jet. Then we have pilot jet, but also looks like another main jet down in there. Also looks like another pilot jet right there. I don't know, this thing is crazy. But I cleaned it out. I don't have the right size jets for it, so there's no reason to even try changing it. But I cleaned the carb out since it was sitting in there with like year-plus old fuel. And we're going to start throwing this thing back together. As you see, motor's back in, exhaust is back on. I plugged mostly everything back in. A few things still to do would be to take this off. And I went ahead and bought the plastic paint that I used on the inside. Trim and bumper paint. It works really good for like plastic that's like kind of texturized like that. Not like smooth plastic like here, but like this type of plastic. Alright, still picking away at it. Got the carb in there, got everything in there. Gonna go ahead and put the floor panel on so I can put the battery in. Then I gotta go get some gas for it, and then we should be able to try to start this thing. So let's fire her up again for the first time. So last time I started this thing was for the video where I started all the bikes in the garage, and this thing was shooting out oil everywhere, all over the bike that was next to it, all over the ground, and that's because, well, that's because the pipe was full of fuel in the cylinder, sadly. Vibrates a lot. Damn, this thing feels good though. Let's see if it's not running a little better at least. This thing still vibrates a bunch though. It's definitely better, but it still vibrates a lot. Oh my gosh. We almost just slid out, boys. There's a little coolant on the tire. The tire spun out from underneath us. That was so sketch. Still a little soggy when you get back on it. It just went back to how it was a little bit. It was having that problem before. I think it's the clutch springs. These clutch springs aren't that strong, especially for this motor, I feel like. Wow, that was sketch when that wheel spun. like a second pull there if you heard it. The way it shifted, it like bogged down for a second. Wow, the GP1 is fast, bro. That is a fast scooter. I don't even know what to say right now. We gotta tune this thing though. The mid is not it. Man, RC-one is no joke, boys. It's not bad this vibrates. Nothing. That's why I feel like I want to do naked bars, bro. Get rid of all this vibrating up here. Now I need to put on this little, like, I wonder how much of a difference this makes. This is kind of heavy to put on over the ignition. It's kind of like a weight. I wonder how important that is. Does that play a factor? Maybe that will help it run better. Maybe it makes it run worse. And then this is like a backing plate, I believe. I don't know where this came from. I just found these in a box from when I went to Scooter Swap Shop and took the GP1 all apart. I found a few bolts and screws that I needed this whole time that were in that box. So, but that's going to do it for the GP1. Expect to see a tuning video on this thing shortly. Hopefully very soon. We'll get some real tuning in on this thing. I think it does need a few things. I think it needs stiffer clutch springs and a better contra for damn sure. So definitely more to come with the GP1. Compared to the first time we finished this scooter and we kind of slapped it together, this thing is a whole lot more dialed this time. Running a lot more better, and it looks a lot better with the black underpiece instead of the white now. So it looks a lot cleaner. No more blinkers up top. I'm very happy with how the GP1's looking right now, and I'm excited to get some more tuning on it. This thing is serious, bro. That was 75 in like a short run without even trying. Terrifying. Got my adrenaline going for sure, but that's gonna do it for this one, boys. I'll see you in the next one.